Hey guys, I'm Dr. Angelica, and I'm here a little bit early today on the 60-day challenge, day 36. You know, Today I'm going to be talking about change the patterns you see to change your life. And I'm not sure if you know that we have hidden patterns behind everything we do, you know, and thank you for joining. And if you like, I can see who's coming on live with me, and I can say hello. But anyways, everything we do, we have those hidden patterns, and you need to be aware of that. You know, um, why do we create patterns, or why do we see things that are not in our life? That's a really good question that we need to kind of begin to reflect. Why is it that we see patterns in our lives, and sometimes they're true and sometimes they're not true? When we begin to reflect on that question, the reason we do what we do is because we're trying to survive. You see, we have to put everything in order in our life in order to feel safe, secure, and so that we make decisions. Every problem that we see it through the eyes of patterns. Everything we do, the way we think, the way we organize our lives, the way you organize your home, there's patterns. And you really need to figure out what are those patterns that are in your life, and the way you speak, the way you think, the way you organize things, the way that you behave, and the way you make decisions. It's very important that you begin to figure out what are those patterns, and if you are ready to discover those greatest strengths that you have, you figure them out through the patterns that you are creating in your life and how you're making decisions. So this is an opportunity calling so that you begin to live life at the level of your purpose. This is how you begin to transform your life and take charge of your life in figuring out patterns. Now, when you discover the patterns, you're going to begin to figure out the meaning that you're giving in that you are creating in your life. You see, because based on the patterns that you create, that we see, then you interpret and you give meaning to life. So what we see is the way that we are interpreting life. Okay, I'm trying to simplify things so that I could really help you make sense of patterns. Like all the patterns that were created when you made an emotional decision, I bet those patterns were created at a very early age of your life. And those, when you were young, at a very, very young age, when you begin, hey, Gabriel, good to see you. When you begin to make those decisions based on emotions, and when you are very, very young, you have to keep in mind that you made those decisions when you were young, and they do not make sense at this life, but we're not aware that we made these decisions, and we keep repeating them, and they keep affecting you because when you were young and you made these decisions, they served you at that time, but they're not serving you right now as an adult, as being 50, 30, 60, 20. They're not serving you anymore. So discovering what those patterns are will transform your life and will make changes when you begin to know what they are. You see, as humans, we have tendencies to see these patterns everywhere because, like I said, we try to put order in our life. And that's why we see things through patterns. We make decisions through patterns. We make judgments based on patterns. And patterns are important, like I said, when you begin to make those decisions. There's a book out there that you might want to get, and it's called How We Believe. And it's by Shermer. and I don't know if it was in the year 2000 some, but he basically talks about how the brain is a meaning-making machine, because we make meaning out of everything that happens in our life based on the patterns. We begin to make meaning, and sometimes that meaning is we're interpreting or seeing the wrong thing. It's an illusion. We're not really seeing what we think we are seeing. So we have to be very careful on how that affects our lives. Okay, so sometimes these patterns are real, like I said, and sometimes they're not. It's like if you could look at the clouds, sometimes we see animals, we see angels, you know, we begin to see these illusions up there in the sky, or you could look at the wall, you could look at a toast, and then we give it an image, you know, because through the lenses, we see these patterns and it forms a figure, and then we think that we see a certain thing. The same thing happens when we are in a relationship. Okay, for example, you're in a difficult relationship and you have a difficult partner who's probably cheating on you or behaving in a certain way, and then you just can't stand it anymore and you break up with that person. But then what happens? You end up with another person with the same patterns, with the same behaviors, because at the unconscious level, you're selecting and choosing the same people over and over again that keep hurting you, and you think they're hurting you, but you're the one that's choosing and deciding on being in that relationship. Okay, now you can also find a job where you feel lousy and miserable, and all the time you're there you feel that your boss is picking on you and it's affecting you in a certain way. But in reality, what happens is that you are in these patterns and you are selecting these jobs or these unconsciously, at an unconscious level, you select these supervisors or a boss that has the same behavior. Okay, but we have to stop blaming other people, and we need to take full responsibility of how we see the world, how we see our experience. What are the patterns that we're in? We probably need somebody to direct us, somebody who's constantly telling us how to do things, what to do, or there's other reasons why we choose these patterns. And I'm not going to get deeply into it because I can confuse you. I like to focus at one person at a time depending on your experience. But here I'm going to try to explain it as simple as I can. Okay. Even for example, we might have a student who is dropping out of school because he believes that there's only one way in getting his high school diploma, and that is a traditional school. He believes that if I graduate, I'll be successful. Now I dropped out and now I'm not going to be successful. That's what he's interpreting. That's what he's seeing, without knowing that there's other alternatives like online education, homeschooling, or probably both put together. But anyways, that's another topic in another video. If you want to know more about an online homeschooling alternative way, just inbox me and we'll get further into that. But for now, let's go deeper. You see, Martin Luther King Jr., he said something very interesting, and I'm going to read it to you so you can see what he's saying here. Hold on, give me a second. He says, Martin Luther King quotes, he says, and he speaks on the fact that we are influenced by our environment, the people who affect our lives, and the generations of coherent and non-coherent change over time. Okay, you see, our lives are drawn on beliefs of our ancestors, our parents, our spiritual leaders, and our culture upbringing. So what really happens, there's a life energy and all these imprints of beliefs, of values that don't belong to us, and we carry them onto our experience, and then we pass them on to our children, and our children pass them on to their children, and so on. So when we're looking at this, when you experience family, parental, or culture conflict, you need to understand that these are patterns within you that exist. So you need some type of support to help you go deeper and understand those patterns that you've created so that you can begin to resolve those issues. And you can change the way you do things so that you don't keep doing and repeating the same thing over and over again in your life. Okay? Everything we do is stored within our body. It's stored in our heart. It's stored in our cells at a deeper level. It's stored in our mind. So in order for us to discover why we do what we do, what are those hidden patterns that are within you, and the only way you can break away is by going within to find those answers, okay? And now, how do you do this? Well, you must have awareness. You have to be very aware, and you have to take responsibility and saying, you know what? This is what I'm doing. This is how I make decisions. This is what I keep repeating over and over. And when you become aware and you take responsibility of the actions that you are taking, then you begin to shift and you really make a decision of taking one simple action and begin to turn your life around and begin to create transformation. Okay, so I know that if I confused you, go ahead and comment. I can explain a little further. Inbox me, and the way you can help me through these videos is like and share and comment below so that other people can get this message. And if you have any questions, ask. If you would like me to answer anything in another video, I will do that. So if you are ready to make a transformation, look at your patterns in order for you to make different choices, different decisions in your life that really impact and create big results, bigger changes in your life. It's by changing those patterns. Change them. You might just need to shift one thing in your life in order to really see the difference on how it impacts your life. So anyways, go ahead and like, share, and comment below, and I will see you tomorrow on the 60-day challenge. And you have a great evening, and in order to achieve anything in life, you have to change patterns that probably do not serve you anymore. So be blessed, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you, Steve, Gabriela, and everybody else that's joining me. If you haven't watched these videos, go back and watch video 1 and so on. See you later. Bye.